The Triple Trio with Hutchi, Richo and RS Dye. It's Hong Kong racing with the blinkers off.
Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new season of the Triple Trio, our weekly look at everything about world racing with a nice little hint towards Hong Kong, and we cannot wait for this weekend. This weekend is going to be magnificent. I've got the best seat in the house. I'm next to the best form analyst in Hong Kong in Clint Hutchison, and the Hall of Fame jockey who just lit it up when he was over in Hong Kong in Shane Dye. We are ready for another amazing season. Hutchbuster, let's go.
Great to be back, Richo. What a meeting to come back to as well, of course. We'll be featuring the Stewards Cup and the clash of the Titans in that particular event, and then the Classic Mile, which is one of the main lead-ups to the Derby. So we've got big names there. We've got J-Mac riding at the meeting. Jamie Carr's going over as well. It's all happening.
And don't forget Ryan Moore as well. Shane Dye, welcome to another season, mate. Great to see you.
Geez, I've missed you, mate. It's been too long. 6 weeks is too long without seeing you or talking to you, mate.
We've missed you as well, mate. We are, looking forward to this weekend. What a way to start the big match race. It's hard to say match race when there's three of them, but a match race between three.
Oh, it definitely is. It's a fantastic race. And even the other race, the Classic Mile, it's quite amazing. There's 14 runners and 13 of them are racing really well at their best. And you never get that in a field. You normally get, say, 5, 6, 7 horses. But this Classic Mile is very even, and they're all going well.
Our star power guest is another Hall of Famer like Shane Dye here in Australia in David Hayes. He'll be joining us later on in the program. We've got Hong Kong Racing School. We're going to burst out of the gates with a lot of topics that's bubbling along. Genius or Slaughtered, we'll find you a stack of winners and we'll dissect all the great racing. But let's get out of the gates. There's a lot to talk about. And as we burst out of the gate, Shane, let's start with Huey Bowman. He has asked for an extension of his licence towards the end of the season. That is fantastic for Hong Kong racing.
It's great for racing in Hong Kong. He's riding so well, and it just adds to more jockey power in Hong Kong. The only reason he wouldn't would be his family and his wife if they're not happy. Otherwise, there's no reason why he would go back to Australia to ride, because the money's just better in Hong Kong. Simple as that.
He's been riding well too. How have you assessed him? He seems to have settled in perfectly.
He's riding really well. He's flying. He's going really good.
And you look at him on the table. I mean, Zach's off and away and totally dominating, but the emergence of Huey, when you consider where that Joe Moreira makes his way out, the Vincent Ho sits second, but Bowman on 18 wins and on the way up. So 18 out of 162, and Karis Teeton has hit the mark since his return as well.
Yeah, I mean, Karis is established there, and obviously Vincent's having a good season. D'Souza's been suspended a lot. So I think he'd be really buoyed with his form and the winners he's been getting. When you look at his last 50 rides as well, I mean, just to put it into context, Zach's had 11 winners from his last 50 rides. We've had Hugh riding 8 from his last 50. So, he's matching motors, and he wouldn't have had the quality of rides that Zach's had. So
I'd love to know the starting price on Zach's.
Well, Hugh'd be probably double, if not treble, what Zach's been getting on. And then you've got Karis, I think, and Vincent have had 4 each. So he's going very, very well, Hugh. He's riding particularly well at this point in time. And he's only going to get better rides going forward. So if he can, perfect the art of choosing the right ones when you get offered them, which he will do in time, then he'll only improve and get better.
Sylvester D'Souza sits there in third with 32 wins. Lyle Hewitson has had a nice run with 22. Karis Teeton, 19, and then Huey Bowman on 18. Chadwick and Leung on 17. So lots to talk about when it comes to the jockeys. What about from a trainer's point of view? There's no tearaway leader when we look at the Trainers' Premiership.
No, there isn't. The Trainers' Premiership is a lot more even. Of course, last year, Frankie Law was the leading trainer, and he's actually leading up the tally this season from John Size, who's on 29. We've got 31 for Frankie, 29 for John Size. So we've got Tony Cruz in the mix as well. But it's up for grabs there. There's a lot of different trainers there. It's a key 3 months, I suppose, Shane, in terms of who might take it out this year. I suppose one of the good stories from the season will be Pierre Rung. 21 winners for a rookie trainer. That's a big effort.
He's flying. His horses have been running well from day one. He's going good. I remember when we did this after about 6 weeks and John was nowhere and you put up his horses and you thought that he couldn't participate, and I kept saying he'll be there. He's there every year. There's no reason why he won't be. He'll be in the top 2 or 3 at the end of the season, fighting it out with a chance to win, John Sires. Outside of that, anyone can win this. It's just a very open year and it's very close in the premiership.
David Hayes with 18 wins at the moment, so and he's our very special guest. Hey, Jamie Richards is starting to get some traction now. 11 wins and on the up.
Yeah, he's had a win in most meetings lately. His horses are starting to be there. They all trial well, but just at the start of the season, he had a bit of bad luck with barrier draws and different things, which is always going to happen. But he's starting to produce some winners now.
Jamie Richards, I think, will really have a strong finish to the season.
Okay,
he's actually going to feature with a couple of his runners in a sweet and defeat file. And apart from that, I've just noticed a lot of his horses now, I think fitness is starting to get there. We've seen a lot of the older stock that he's had, but he's got some nice new younger horses coming through. I think you'll see him really finish the latter part of the season particularly well.
The perfect advertisement for how strong Hong Kong racing is the fact that Jamie Carr, James McDonald and Ryan Moore say we need to be in Hong Kong on Sunday.
Definitely. Big names. They don't get any bigger. I mean, they're some of the biggest names that you can get. Of course, James on the back of his success in the HKR meeting and the Longines Jockey of the Year. So, it's interesting as well. When he obviously committed to Beautyverse, he obviously thought, well, if I'm going to go for the mile, I want to commit all the way through, which is my understanding. So he'll be riding that horse through the 3 legs, and that horse is formerly known as Jungle Magnate in Australia for those Australian viewers. So he's got to be a good chance, and it'll be interesting to see how he runs on the weekend. But it's something, Richo, that we'll see a lot more of. I think these big jockeys, now COVID sort of, these barriers have been broken down a little bit. I think you'll see the top riders go there a lot more because the prize money's so good.
It's incredible, isn't it, Shane?
Yeah, it's amazing. And that's the only reason they hear the money. I think James committed for one reason, and that was Zach. He knew if the horse ran well, Zach could get back on it for those connections, and he had been riding it. So I think he said to himself, right, I might as well commit so Zach can't get back on it if it goes well.
Yeah. And what about the Chinese New Year meeting, Shane? How brilliant was it for us who are not in Hong Kong just to sit and watch and see the huge crowds that were there?
I think there was 71 or 75,000. You'd know the figures. It was over 70, but the turnover was unbelievable. It was a great day's racing, and it just went off like old Hong Kong times.
Yeah, there's scenes that really warm the heart from my perspective because we've just been starved of crowds in the last couple of years in Hong Kong, and it's such a big part of the atmosphere there is that you do get the good crowds there. And Chinese New Year Day is always a massive day on the calendar. The crowds just came back in full strength. And that, since the Kentucky Derby of 2022, that's the biggest crowd at the races since that particular day.
Oh, wow.
So that just shows you. So it was fantastic to see the turnover eclipse $2 billion in Hong Kong. So Shane, that was a new record since, I think, or maybe a new record since, and the highest since the late 90s. Might have been 1997 or something.
Yeah,
so
correct.
The club will be pretty happy about that.
Yeah, 1997, I think they got a meeting of 2.4 billion. I could be wrong. But since then, there hadn't been one that big. There were 11 races also, Clint, so you've got to take that into consideration instead of 10. But still, it's an amazing figure to achieve in these times.
1997, how many winners did you ride on that day?
I was in Sydney riding. I wasn't in Hong Kong. I got to Hong Kong in 2000.
Yeah, but surely you rode 6 winners in Sydney on the day.
No, probably it wouldn't surprise me anything.
Of course.
Just another weekend.
Just a little shelling peas, if you don't mind. Let's check out who was sweet in defeat.
They're off, and Sugar Sugar missed the start by 4 lengths. Then Dublin Star, Sugar Sugar fast buck, smart leader. Oversubscribed, lunges at the post, missed. Sugar Sugar, that's a sweet win for Alfie Chan.
Well, Sweet in Defeat is our version of Black Bookers. And if you've written down Hutchie's Sweet in Defeat file, you've had a recent fill-up while we've been away, Buster. Congratulations, sort of, but then at the same time, gee, I wish we were on air during a lot of this gold.
Yes, it would have helped. But look, we try to point out future winners, and sometimes they don't find the right race. Sometimes they do. But I'm happy with the performance from the Sweet in Defeat file throughout the season. And Yeah, there's some of the winners up there. We were on a couple recently. 5G Patch was a great ride for Huey Bowman recently. Sugar. Unfortunately, we weren't on, but quite a few of those we were. And it was good to see Ching actually finally get away with a race the other day after a couple of luckless runs, and he finally delivered.
Do we get some retrospective? I want some retrospective money for Ching because I've got to admit, I didn't follow up.
No, there was no cha-ching.
No, exactly right. Well, who jumps into the file this week?
Yeah, look, I think there's a few. I tried to go from the start of the month because I wanted to keep it relatively recent. And these are horses that I think you can follow in the short term. Now, June Planet for Casper Founds was pretty well backed on debut. He settled back, ran through the line really well, good late sectionals. He'll be a lot better, and I wouldn't mind him at Sha-Tin over more than 1,200, but Casper might keep him to Happy Valley in that trip. He can still win there, as can Pachisi, and he's a similar case in point. That's the one from Jamie Richards' stable, as is Hoss. Hoss is another Jamie Richards horse that really caught the eye. He was a bit unlucky when he ran. Casper Founds also has Rocket Spade, who is a little one-dimensional. I wouldn't mind seeing RS Dye at his best on him. And Huey rode him well the other day, but he's a horse that's just got to be ridden cold and brought late, but he was huge in defeat the other day. And outside of that, I've got Flying Mojito ready to win. Golden Express didn't have the best to run. And a notable mention more than anything else, La City Blanche, who I think when he gets to 2,000 could be one to follow.
See him, Clint, La City Blanche. I backed him at $85 last week. He should have won for sure.
Yeah, he was unlucky, wasn't he? He surprised me because I was a little bit too focused on others, but it was a good run. But here's another horse we're talking about, Ching, actually. He's in pink colours and purple that's going on to win it. He got his momentum up, the race to suit, the track pattern on side as well, and he got that momentum going and he won. And Zach just got held up on Flying Mojito.
Okay, so 7 horses go in the sweet and defeat file, and we keep monitoring their success each and every week. Hey, let's grab the pen and pencil and paper because we need to get into school. Hong Kong Racing School, Hutch, and if you could educate us on how you and Shane assess, not just on the eye, but to assess with some figures as to how a track's playing.
Yeah, the eye's a big part and component. I know Shane would look at a race or two and come up with his formula pretty quickly. He can explain more so with his version on how to look at tracks and their patterns or biases on a specific day, and Shane was obviously years ahead of many in terms of analysing that. But I just wanted to, this is something that's universal, not only to Hong Kong, but obviously, you could do this in Australia. Early in the week at the Chinese New Year meeting, we did have a real pattern on the day. Now, there were 30-kilometre-hour winds, and it was a strong headwind in the straight as well. So there was the wind that was going to play a part, but you're always aware of this when you're going into a meeting. The wind's up. You want to see which horses are being favoured. Now, we've got a graphic here that we can use, and we're talking about Hong Kong Racing School, so I'll put my glasses on. Now, this is a track. These are the key parameters that you need to have. The position in running, and you can have the 400 or the 800, but I think the 400 or 600 is probably more important. There's the margin, and that's going to be the key one, because in terms of when you're looking at a track pattern, you need the longitude factor of it and the latitude factor, because sometimes it'll be, on pace or there'll be specific lanes. That's how wide they were in the run and the lane that they used in the straight. So that will give you a good snapshot. Now, the key point here that I want to make, if you're watching the first 4 races, you've got horse in second position, first position, second position, first position, and you can see they're not very far off the leader and they're pretty handy and they're running pretty close to the rail. So at that point in time, you'd be thinking, gee, this is really up and in track. However, the one that sort of defied that to an extent was Divine Ear, the winner of the third race. He sat 3 wide, no cover, but importantly, he was only a length off the lead. And by the time we get to the bottom there, you can see 3 wide trail for Sunny Singh, and he stayed in lane 5 in the straight. And we had another winner come, Nicholson Returns, a little wider on the course too. This is a track with the wind where you needed to be on pace. You see, there's nothing further back than 2.75 lengths. So you could be wide, but you needed to be on pace.
Yeah.
Horses that were running into that wind just couldn't make up the ground, and that's the important thing. So it wasn't really the track necessarily, it's more the wind. And that margin will give you that indicator. So that's something that you've got to cross-reference your position and running with how far off the lead speed that you are. And I think it's just something to take.
I reckon it's exceptional.
because normally you'll see at Chartin, Shane, they can come from anywhere from you get them at 6 lengths off the lead at the 400, maybe 5 lengths off. Nothing more than 2.5 lengths basically the whole day. So that showed you how hard it was on Shane during the week to make up the ground.
Yeah, there was only one race, and that was ruined because of the Nicholson Returns one. And Casper Found's horse ruined that race because he went forward and he normally goes back, and it put a lot more pace into the race. And so in that race, it changed, and all the back markers got home down the outside because of that. Because there was not a lot of pace in that race, and I think it was Perfect. Mary Cole was about the only one, if I remember correctly, and he should have got a soft lead. But once that other horse, what's he called? He's always unlucky normally. Over the Flow or something. 3 words.
Yeah, over the Moon.
Over the Moon. He put the pace into the race early, and it just changed that race completely.
And what you saw on the day, and those things that those various categories that I highlighted, you marry them up with the sectionals, and you see how slow they were coming home in. So the slowest section, a lot of those races was the last. They were coming home in 24.5 seconds, which is very slow for a final 400. But horses couldn't make any ground. Shane, when you were riding into a headwind? I mean, I'm a big believer in that. So a lot of people think you want cover. I don't think you do. I think it's harder to come off their back when you're going into the wind and make up the ground.
Come off their back and then hit the wind.
It seems to hit them, and they can't sort of peg that ground back. But did you have anything that you used to do when you were riding on very windy days?
There were 2 tracks in Australia which really stood out to me, and one was Warwick Farm, and down the side it used to blow across. So 1,400 metre races there, you didn't want to be on the inside because it's a straight run to the first corner. You got like 800 metres. So if the wind's blowing across the inside horses, it was taking by the fence, it would take too much out of them. So I always like to stay outside and stay a bit wider. So I avoided the wind. And the other track is Caulfield, which I never rode at often, only carnival time. But when it got windy there, it was a nightmare. You needed cover.
It's interesting because there'll be a lot of people who are thinking, trying to make the analogy with other sports. And you say, for example, cycling, you want to get in behind because you're saving, up to 30% of energy in behind another rider, whether or not those factors still come in from a horse point of view. But anyway, it's great insight, and so I love the way you've analysed it.
One thing, when you won the stall gift, was there a win advantage that day? Did you know about it? Did you take that into consideration or what?
It's quite remarkable, Shane, when you look at the vision, every other lane had a tailwind. I had a headwind, I was still able to win. It was unbelievable.
And he had even had time, Shane, to wave to the crowd as he went through it.
Dressed in green too, wasn't he, if I remember correctly?
I was just holding back, ready to try to win it again next year. That was genius, or was it a slaughter? Well, let's find out who adds in the file next.
They sweep for home now. Beander Cross has come very wide. Beander Cross answering the urgings of Shane Dye. Mannerism coming at him. Mannerism has got it.
Daring tactics by Shane Dye. He's got Octagonal in full flight on the corner. Bold tactics by Shane Dye are going to pay off, and he pinches the Chipping Norton.
Here's the moment of the show that we all love, where the Hall of Famer casts his eyes over all the rides in recent times and gives a big tick to the genius ride and a little cross to those that have annoyed him. And Shane, can I start with Huey Bowman, who appears to be riding really well? Do you have some examples?
Yeah, I'm going to do a little bit differently. I'm going to categorise the 2 together, more or less. And they're not slaughters, but just jockeys not realising form of the race. So this is why Huey's riding so well. I'm going to put up a couple of races. Now, this horse here, back inside, Nicholson Returns. Before the turn, he probably should have come out, but he stayed in there, and he's just riding so patiently, and he's not getting his horses off balance, and he's coming through fields. But the thing that is very important with Huey and racing is when he's riding horses, their best sectionals are the last 200 metres. That's when he's hitting the line on horses. He's not doing it from the 800 to the 600. Here's Hampson Bobo. Look at him. Doesn't worry. He's quiet. And he doesn't get it off balance. I was filthy this night because I backed the grey horse and I thought he was home. And he just got there, and it was the ride that won the race. So he's keeping them balanced. Here's another one after this coming up the other day. If you watch, he's back here. on whatever it's called, out of Beguil, and he just doesn't switch it. He just gradually comes to the outside. So the horse's momentum is not changed, and he's going forward. And of course, he hits the line at the right time, the last 200 metres. So he's got the horse flowing. Now, when you ride like this, sometimes you can be disadvantaged and make a mistake. And I'm going to show you a race where he missed the boat, and it should have won for sure. Now, this is 5G Patch, which won its next start. And I always say to you, when a horse does this, he always wins its next start. He should have got going down him on the side, but that's not Huey. He likes to be patient and bring them up the straight, which is good. So I backed this horse this night, and I wasn't filthy, even though he should have won, because that's Huey. And he rides like that, And Stewards would know that too, but he definitely should have won this night. So sometimes he can get it a bit wrong because he's saving the energy for the horse to come into the race at the right time. But his next run last week, he won. Now I'm going to show you a couple of races where the jockeys are not doing the form, and this is a classic example here. Snow-A-Lot on last weekend. If you watch Snow-A-Lot, he's here. He gave it a beautiful ride in the race. And up in front of him, one off the fence, is the odds-on favourite, $1.60, who looks like winning the race. Now, he should have been coming through here and coming out, but he comes to the outside. And you watch how much ground it's cost him here getting to the outside. He would have got the best run through. So you've got to know the horses you are following and follow them, because they're going to give you the best run. He should have won this horse for sure. But I can understand what he's doing. He's trying to get it into the clear, but he didn't need to.
Because Alexi should have followed the $1.60 favourite.
Of course he should have, right? Yeah. And kept the horse balance. Here's another one. This is not knowing horses. Now, the lead, this is the third horse, Circuit Stellar. He definitely runs second, probably should have won. Now, this leader always hangs in. If you do form in the race, you know he hangs in. So you're looking to come out before the turn or somewhere. Now, if you look here, there's no run inside, and he thinks, I'm going to try and go the inside. But you can't, and he kind of hits him. That horse has hung in every start in its life, happy. So it's too late. He's got to switch across. The horse is off balance. He should have been looking to come out before and get away from that horse. Now, that horse definitely runs second, and he probably might have won, actually, with momentum up, but I'm not saying he would have. But you've got to do your form. And now, what I used to do when I was a jockey, if I knew I was going to be third fence, I used to look at the leaders and watch their racing pattern, how they were in the straight. So you knew at the half mile whether you were going to stay on the fence or come off the fence, because the leader is going to hang out or lay in. And I think I've mentioned it before. I won a Group 1 race one day because I did that. I backed myself and my form, and I was third fence and I was bolting. It was a 2,400 metre race. It was the Oaks. And the leader, I always knew at about the 200 could drift, or 300, it could drift off the fence. And so I backed my judgment and I stayed off the fence and never left it. And you wouldn't believe it, at the 200 it went, and I would have looked a mug if I'd got beat. I was held up, and it drifted out when he hit it. And I just went boom and won the race. So you've got to do your form and know what these horses are going to do. And that's how you win races.
Exceptional insight.
Yes,
RS
it is.
Dye, exceptional. Circuit Stellar, when's it running next? After that run, the more and more we watch that replay, that should be winning.
Unlucky. Angus Chong early in the season should have probably won on him when Beluga beat him. Very similar field. A lot of those horses lining up. All that Circuit Stellar needs, and Shane's right about his assessment post that, but I also think Wagner should have just gone forward, no weight on his back, and led and made Zach work a little bit, or just say, we'll set a decent tempo. He should have never handed up. He's not that kind of horse. He's better off rolling along, and I thought early he should have probably held a spot, but yeah, he's ready to win one for sure.
But if you do that, Clint, you might go too fast too. I didn't mind him being third fence. I can understand what you're saying, and I've got no complaints about him being third fence. But you've got to know what the horses in front of you are going to do.
That's a fair call.
Yeah, that is the insight that we love from RS Dye. We're going to move to global racing. Well, let's talk global racing, and of course our emphasis is on the World Pool. We love all the commingled World Pool, and we do that through the Hong Kong Jockey Club's betting operation. Wherever you are in the world, you'll know for Australia, for example, it's through the tab, and all these World Pool meetings are absolutely outstanding. And there's a lot to look forward to for this season coming up. So here are the dates. So we start in South Africa with the Met meeting, and that's coming up this weekend. And we've phoned a friend. We'll get some tips from Matty de Kock, the son of Mike de Kock, and also a trainer in Australia. Then we move to Flemington Lightning Stakes Day, so that famous sprint down the straight at Flemington over 1,000 metres. The Saudi Cup has emerged as a wonderful meeting now in a country that's really developing, and then we turn our attention towards Meydan in Dubai, and we build up towards the World Cup, of course, with the Shima Classic as well. And also it's worth noting all the available bet types that you can bet with the World Pool. And for punters sitting at home, look, there's all your obvious, the win, the place of Quinella Place, which you're really good at, Buster.
It's interesting because the Quinella Place is big in Hong Kong. Yeah. As we know, as Quinella is, those are two of the biggest pools. And in South Africa, we've got the meeting at the Met, is the feature race with a few Group 1s coming this weekend. They call it the Swinger.
Right.
The Swinger. And it's a big sort of bet there as well. So you're going to bet into these pools. The good thing about it is that, like Richo, you've said, they're commingled. Gee, the turnover grew last year with them, and you can certainly get a bet on. You don't have to worry about that. And the dividends payouts were very, very attractive as well. You
can certainly get a bet on, and I can tell you off camera, when you mentioned the bet type was called the Swinger, Shane Dye sort of stood up, thought, hang on, I've heard that. Don't say a word, RS, do not say a word. Hey, one thing I will get you to comment on, though, it's Met Day at Kenilworth in South Africa. Did you ride in South Africa in your incredible career?
No, I never went. Closest I got there was Mauritius. I had a chance to ride there once. I was asked to go and ride something in a big race there for a trainer who had quite a few runners, but I didn't go. But no, I see Christoph Suleiman's riding there, which is good because he's outstanding. He's back now, so it'll be interesting.
So this is Met Day at Kenilworth in Cape Town in South Africa with three Group 1s, the Majorca Stakes, the Cape Flying Championship, and don't forget, of course, the Met is the big one. And Hutch, give our punters a little guide. Matty de Kock.
Yeah, well, you know Matt well, and of course he's the son of Mike de Kock, who's travelled to Hong Kong and around the world. He's got a big name, of course, in Dubai, which was he trained for many years, and he's obviously got a base there in South Africa as well. So thanks to Matt, and he sent a couple of selections through, and we're going to run through those now.
So the Majorca Stakes is a Group 1 over a mile.
It is a Group 1 over a mile, and the favourite in the race is going to be extremely hard to beat in the name of Captain's Ransom. She's a star filly, according to Matt, in South Africa. It's not a big field. I think they're a bit worried about taking her on. Matt's, I think Mike might have Desert Miracle on the race. She is a quality filly, but she's going to find it hard to beat the favourite, according to the stable.
Now, what about the flying, the speed test over 1,000 metres?
Yeah, just said it's wide open. He said there's a number of chances in the 8th, so it might be a good race. Probably to follow the late money in that one, Richo, I would have thought. But
in some exotics.
The feature race, the Met, they've got a good chance here, Matt's family, Matt de Kock. He's got the winner of last year's Durban July, I should say, Sparkling Water, and he thinks they're a very good chance. They're very happy with the preparation. He's pretty confident they'll run in the first 3. And for those who like the Quinella Place or the Swinger, Jet Dark and Make It Snappy might be the ones to include.
Yeah, really looking forward to that Group 1 race meeting in South Africa. You can bet in the World Pool and jump on the Hong Kong Jockey Club website for some more information. We're going to get the inside running. The build-up towards this Stewards Cup is going to be fascinating with these 3 superstar horses. And Nicole Purton is on the ground, is going to check out all the latest news and the build-up with her diary towards the Stewards Cup.
Has started with a buzz at Shartin with news that Golden 60, California Spangle and Romantic Warrior are likely to clash in the Group 1 Stewards Cup on January 29th. I'll be following their progress over the next 4 weeks as this promises to be a clash of the Hong Kong racing titans.
The Ferrari, he hits overdrive, and the Champions Mile is headed to Hong Kong's champion again. Golden 60 won it. He is the leading money winner in Hong Kong. California Spangle, a length on Golden 60. California Spangle, the chess master, that is Purton, tactically brilliant. He is the perfect racehorse, Romantic Warrior, and he's now a Hong Kong Cup winner. Romantic Warrior by 5 for James McDonald.
January 3, and there were a few audible gasps from the people who watched Golden 60's trial this morning as he dipped shortly out of the gates. I'll catch up with Vincent Ho and find out exactly what happened.
Now they're off. Golden 60 dipped really badly just after the start. He picked himself up to settle on the outside third.
He sort of tripped himself a little bit and had a stumble. Scared me for 1 or 2 strides.
Actually, last round he's okay, but you can see he's stumbled a little bit when he jumped out and he pulled off his front shoes. But after we check it out, he's okay.
Golden 60 and Galaxy Witness, the outside pair have taken over. Golden 60 and Galaxy Witness, who's gone up to take the lead off the champ. He's not being pushed out, Golden 60, but an impressive trial from Galaxy Witness beat Golden 60.
We've got an exciting morning of barrier trials here today at Sha Tin. Romantic Warrior will be featuring in the first of 12 heats in preparation for his run in the Stewards Cup, where we're going to see the clash between the 3 big guns of Hong Kong.
Romantic Warrior powering at them on the far side. Romantic Warrior has whipped to the lead now. Adam, oh so impressive once again. Romantic Warrior.
Oh, he trial brilliant. He's a very talented horse. He's very professional. He listened to the jockey, wait for the jockey's instruction. You can see he jump good, he just very relaxed. When Terrace asked him to go, he just go.
You know, of course, he's a special horse for us here. He's doing everything well, and of course, with that trial this morning, we are all happy with the trial.
What are your thoughts on Romantic Warrior dropping back to the mile?
It's an interesting one because he ran first up over 2,000 metres this season. He's very good in the international when he smashed a quality field. But dropping next to the mile, I don't think it's going to be a problem. He won over 1,200 early in his career at the Valley. He's shown he's got gate speed. He trialled really well here this morning, over 1,000. So he's a type of horse, although he is a 1.25 mile horse, he's got really good gate speed. So dropping back to the mile, he's still going to put himself in the right spot.
Since his last race, and after each and every gallop, I can feel the difference that the horse is getting better. He's really a nice horse to ride in the morning.
And will you do much more with him between now and the Stewards Cup?
I think I will do 2 more gallops. 1 on the grass, 2 on the stand, and put on 10 pounds after the International Hong Kong Cup. I weighed him yesterday, and we were very happy. So after 12, he will improve a little bit more.
The countdown is on to the 29th of Jan, where we're going to see the 3 stars of Hong Kong clash in the Stewards Cup. And this morning, we're about to see 2 of them trial, California Spangle and Golden 60.
Golden 60 is coming, but it is California Spangle in front, being kept up to the mark by Purton. He'll go on and win. At a great clash coming up shortly in the Stewards Cup.
He's doing good. He does everything he needs to do. He's good out the gates. He rolls along and does his own thing. You know, he basically waits for the other horses in the straight. So he looks after himself, but he does what he needs to do.
Yeah, he trials very well. He jumped way better than last time, for sure. Very sharp, and he relaxed well most of the time. The horses, hand cornering well, and in the straight he just cruise up. And when I just let the reins go, he picked up as well. So he trialed very well today.
And what makes him so special to you?
Well, you know, since the day I got on him in a classic mile, his performance has just been unbelievable in Hong Kong. Last year he was, to win the classic mile, to win the derby, to win the Kiwi 2 was already brilliant. And we knew that, next season he's gonna even be better. And what he's done in the Cup International Day was just incredible. So I think he's a special horse for the whole team. And now we just look forward to the next race.
I think he's mentally more mature. I relax very well in the race now. Last season, sometimes he can still pull a little, but this season is very relaxed. He knows control.
As we've seen this season, he continues just to take that half a step every time he goes to the races, and he put in his best performance last start. There's no reason why he can't find that little bit more of. So, he's an exciting horse.
It's like the clash of the titans right now. It's a long awaited race, and I think you got the three best horses in Hong Kong running together. Our hopes, I expect California Spangle to be up on top.
So the finishing touches have been put on the three big stars, and understandably the last few days at the track have been tense. So the question is now, who will win? Golden 60, Romantic Warrior, or California Spangle?
Oh, wonderful insight and beautifully done, Nicole Purton. A key part of our team on the Triple Trio. The build-up to this Stewards Cup is absolutely fantastic. Hutch, let's have a look at the field, and I'd love to get your insight and Shane's insight as to who is going to win the big one.
Yeah, I'm going to have Romantic Warrior, the favourite, and a clear favourite at that at about $2.15. I've got Golden 63, about $3.30, and California Spangle. They take up a big percentage of the market. I'm pretty much write your own ticket for the other runners. It's obviously between those three. Some fixed operators around the world obviously have a different thought on this market, and they're betting it at much bigger percentages. But more importantly, in Hong Kong, on the tote, I think I'm not really sure which way the tote will go. I think Romantic Warrior might be the main one, but who knows, because they're all so popular in Hong Kong. But I'm happy to say on his back of his Hong Kong International 2,000 metre victory, cup victory, Romantic Warrior, where he posted some incredible figures with me, and just the run he'll get in this race, I'm more than happy to say that he will be the horse to beat.
Okay, so Karis Teeton back on Romantic Warrior and James McDonald off, even though J-Mac rides at the meeting. So Karis gets back on. A mile is going to be at the bottom end of his absolute best. So this, Shane's an opportunity for Golden 60 and also California Spangle. Set up the race for us. Set up the jockey tactic.
This is an interesting race. Now, if you remember last time I said Zach had to increase the pace at the half mile. He didn't increase it. Yui did, and that's what won in the race. If you hang on to these leaders, the back markers come into the race, and it disadvantages a leader. So you've got to be going before the 600 on them to string them out a bit. Look, this horse just had the perfect run this day. I thought Vincent missed the boat early on. He should have been following California Spangle, and he wins. But I can understand what he did. He was playing percentages and rode him accordingly. Look, there's not much between them, but if you want the facts, Golden 60 is a better horse than California Spangle. Now, it's just a matter of whether Romantic Warrior is better than both of them, and we're going to find that out tomorrow.
It's 2-1 in favour of Romantic Warrior versus California Spangle, and you can say that the day he was beaten. Well, it was a Karis didn't have the best moment in the saddle, but he's rectified that and rectified it well since. Shade, it's a really interesting race tactically, particularly where they've drawn. And I would imagine, I mean, if you're Karis and you're riding Romantic Warrior, his thought process is, well, you know where Zach's going to be. Is he of the mindset where, okay, I've just got to basically stay a length off him or keep him within, my sights, and then I'll have the opportunity to run over the top of him. And then maybe Vincent's thinking the same thing. I'll just get on the back of Romantic Warrior, and I'll follow him in the race.
He's only got one worry in the race, and that's why Cuckoo Karis, depending on where he goes. If I'm on Romantic Warrior, he's got natural gate speed, which you saw in the international race. He just jumped a length in front and went forward on him. And coming back to a mile isn't a lot of difference in a race like this to that 2,000 metre race the other day, early on in a race. So he can be outside the leader, but it's a matter of Waikuku, whether he goes back or presses on. And you've seen him press on. I want to show you a race coming up here, how you do not ride leaders. And it's a great example. Now, this is all Rich's last Saturday. They went very fast early and strung the field out. Now, I know he may not run a mile, but he put the brakes on here which is the worst thing to do. As soon as that happened, I said those first 4 horses have no hope in the world of winning, because it allows all these back markers to make up 4, 5, 6 lengths without doing any work. And you watch them all make this ground up. Super Sunny Singh, Gallant Warrior stopped because he went too far from home. And all of a sudden, these back markers have to win the race and not the leaders, even though you're thinking you're giving the leader the chance. The worst position you can be in that type of situation is third fence, which Spirit, John Sizer's horse was. He had no hope as soon as that happened, because the pace comes out, he's got to come back and his rhythm changes, and then he's got to sprint again, and you can't do it. Whereas the horses back a bit have that momentum, and in stride, they make up 4 or 5 lengths from the half mile to the 600, and they win the race. And that's a classic example of a leader, and what you don't do in leaders, but what you should do is quicken the pace at the half mile, as I stated before the last race. And that's what Zach will be doing. But if he thinks he's going to get a soft lead, which he will, and hang on to the straight and sprint up the straight, we've seen what happened 2 or 3 runs ago. Golden 60 ran a 21 something. It was a 4 or something, or 2, or it was unheard of what he ran. And California Spangle ran a 21 something 2 starts ago, and Golden 60 still got over top of him. But the other point now is he's got to contend with Romantic Warrior, probably sitting a length off him. He's not going to beat Romantic Warrior if it's a sprint home.
Okay. Hey, Shane, I'm conscious of the time, and David Hayes is about to join us, but I'd love to get your insight succinctly. If you're riding each 3, tell us how you win the race. So firstly, if you're the jockey on Golden 60, how do you win on Sunday?
Okay, so when there's 2 chances or 3 chances in a race, he has to ride his horse to the best ability. So he comes out of the great gates and he rides a normal race on him, and hopefully he can beat the other 2. He doesn't worry about them during the race. It's different. When it's a one-on-one situation, you only concentrate on one horse. But when you've got 2 other horses, you can bring your own horse undone by doing something different like that. So he's just got to go out there and ride Golden 60 wherever he's happy, probably 4th. One off the fence outside of Beauty Joy. His only problem in the race is Beauty Joy being inside of him, and when he starts pulling, if the pace is too slow and he starts to get his head up, and whether Yui tries to come off the fence or not on him. That's his problem in the race. So he goes out there. California Spangle's easy. He'll lead. There's no risk about that. He'll just go straight to the front. He'll want to cross Beauty Joy pretty quickly and get to the front, and then it's a matter of increasing the tempo at the 800. If I'm on Romantic Warrior, I'm jumping. I know I'm on a very fit 2,000-metre horse. I'm not going back on him. I'm going forward outside of Romantic Warrior, and then I'm hoping Y Cuckoo doesn't press on, and he's behind me, and I'm just there without a trouble outside of him.
Oh, I love it, mate. I'm pumped. He set the scene perfectly.
I agree with everything that Shane said in terms of the tactics. And I think you'll see it about the 150-metre mark, the 3 of them, all there with a fighting chance, and it'll be a great finish.
So you think Romantic Warrior, judging by your market, you think Romantic Warrior defeats Golden 60 with California Spangle 3rd?
Yes.
Shane, 1, 2, 3.
Romantic Warrior, Golden 60, California Spangle, but I'm telling you now, I wouldn't be surprised what won it.
There's a scenario.
They are 3 outstanding horses who in any year dominate Hong Kong racing without the other 2 being there by a long way.
I've got to keep the faith, because I've just got to stay with California Spangle that Zach will get it right again, because he'll be underestimated. I'll get a massive price on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't
relatively.
know. I think it's a hard one to judge for me. I mean, Zach is very popular and the horse is very popular, so it'd be interesting to see who's favourite.
Bring it on. Let's sprinkle a little bit of stuff. Let's add some star power. And when we want to lift the ratings of this show, we only go to one man. And that is the Hall of Famer in Australia, who has just always taken Hong Kong by storm, in David Hayes, who's very much a friend of the program. Hazy, great to see you, mate. You're looking fit, well, and loving life in Hong Kong.
Yeah, it's been terrific. Now they've eased a few of the restrictions. It's been a bit bit of a tedious couple of years with the COVID rules, but it's getting a bit better now. There's travels allowed and a few people coming through and we can go places.
Dave, we saw some amazing scenes there during the week, of course, of the Chinese New Year meeting. Must have been great to have people back on course.
Yeah, look, I think in all my years of when I was in Hong Kong, probably in the golden crowd days, I think that's the biggest crowd I've ever seen at the races. There wasn't a seat in the house, and it was a booming atmosphere. It was just fantastic to be here.
How do you analyse the season so far for DA Hayes Racing?
Oh, look, below par. It's been a little bit disappointing. I've just enduring a little bit of a frustrating run where my best chances are drawing wide. But that'll change. I'll just keep working, and soon the good chances will start drawing well and they'll get the nice runs. At the Valley, it's almost essential these days that you draw well. It's very hard to win from a wide gate, especially now Shane Dye's not riding.
That association, RS Dye, goes way back. You and Hazy combined with some incredible horses over the time in Hong Kong.
I actually won this race for David one year on Charming City, the Classic Mile.
Yes, he was. That's how good you were. He was a sprinter, and you turned him into a miler. He sort of dominated the race and kicked from the front. You did.
It was a training performance, mate.
Oh, I haven't listened to
you
these
added
two.
links to him.
Is there a bucket around?
Set up your chances this weekend, Hazy. How do you go into Sunday?
As I said, my best chances have drawn a bit awkwardly. The Classic Mile is just a terrific race. A lot of horses that have gone through their classes and winning well. My horse, Flagship Warrior, couldn't have been more impressive first up from the wide gate to win. The jock got off and said he was unlucky and he still won. So I was just hoping to get a good gate. He could settle a little bit closer without any pressure. But he's drawn 14, so we're probably going to have to ride him patient and hope they go like mad. But he's a very, very impressive horse. As you can see here, he beat probably a B-plus field pretty well there.
David, just on that with Flagship Warrior, I noticed that since that run, you trialled him, I think, on the 10th of January, and you backed him up and had another trial 10 days later. So was that always the plan?
Not initially. He sort of 5 weeks between runs going up to a mile. So I tried him over race distance and he pulled a little bit. And when he pulled, I thought maybe I've been a bit easy on him. So I gave him the next trial on the dirt and he travelled how I like them to travel, a little bit more relaxed. And he was ready to really rock home at the end of the trial, but we didn't need to test him too hard. So what I wanted to see him was just relaxing through the first 400. Going up to a mile, and I think it was mission accomplished, and we'll see on Saturday because he'll really have to relax early in the race because he'll be going back and hoping they go too fast.
And just for those that are in Australia, of course, that with Flagship Warrior, Harley Movin was his name. Right. He had form around Beautyverse, and obviously he was Jungle Magnate. So yeah, terrific. Yeah, it was. You must have been really happy with that. We've spoken a bit about that debut win. They don't win there too often. Hazy first up in Hong Kong when they come from overseas, and he did it with top weight. So, I mean, it's something that you would have been really, really happy to see, I'm sure.
Yeah, look, he did it with top weight and wide barrier, which is another factor. And Bonzapella is going really, really well. Once again, she's had 2 starts in Hong Kong, drawn the outside both times. She's drawn a little bit better in 11, but it won't be easy from that barrier. She'll be ridden patiently as well. I thought her first 2 runs have been very good, and if she drew a barrier, I would have been much more confident. But she was really, at a first up run especially, very powerful late. This is the run where she got a little bit crowded, but I think third run will be much better than a second one.
A little bit crowded. She had no room at all. How's she settled in? You know, we don't see many fillies, mares racing in Hong Kong, but you've certainly know how to do it, and you've been able to produce a brilliant horse over there as a feminine one. Tell us about how she settled in.
She settled in really well. You know, her first up run, which didn't show there, was brilliant. Lemur, who's a pretty good jockey, got off and said she felt like a really top level horse. So her time will come, whether it's the weekend or not. especially when she draws a good gate.
David, one horse who's not in that race tomorrow is Straight Arrow, and his Aussie form was very good. And if you can get him right somehow, he could be a Derby horse. How is he, and why do you think he hasn't performed so far in 2 runs?
Yeah, his track work's been really good, Shane, and his trials, I thought the one at the Valley was very good. When he arrived, just as he started doing his preparation, he had a hairline fracture of just above his sesamoid. So I had to be very easy on him. And I just think he's taking a couple runs to adjust to the firm tracks. That win that you saw where he looked so good in the carbine was on that wet Sydney track. I think he'll handle the firm tracks here, but he's just taken a couple of runs and he's disappointed me. He cost me a bit of money. I backed him both starts. I thought he'd run like the filly and Bonzapella and Hardly Moving, because I think he's a bit better than them. So I know if I get him right, I agree with you. He's running on the 5th in a mile. I think he has to improve. And then when he gets to 1,800 and 2,000, he'll come into his own.
Well, that's what he looked like he wanted in Australia, 2,000 metres, and I just thought he was going to be the perfect Derby horse for Hong Kong.
Yeah, I did. I did too. And sometimes they get here and they're running poorly and they work poorly and they don't eat. But he's doing everything right except on race day. So I just think it's a matter of adjusting race day and the form will turn around.
Is it fair to say, David, as well, with both of your entries for this weekend in the Classic Mile, obviously with the barriers and probably how they map, etc., and over this distance, that, you know, there's a lot to look forward to and they'll be better probably, you know, over the Classic Cup distance of 1,800, if not the Derby itself?
That's what I'm hoping, Hutchi. If they drew well, I would be tipping either one of them. They're going well, but they're going to need luck and they're going to need tempo. And you know, we're going to show our hand in the first 400, let them balance up, and hopefully they're rattling home.
I've got one that I do think you can win with on the weekend. Hazy, I think you've got a very good chance with Wide Blue Yonder. So it'd be rude not to ask you what you thought of its chance. I thought, gee, it's been a bit unlucky a few times this season, and you talked about barriers or tempos of races, etc. That not a lot's gone its way. Wide Blue Yonder, what did you think of its chances?
Yeah, you just ignore his last run. Hugh got off him and said, look, I'd love to ride him next start. And he's got the choice of a lot of horses here. And he's trained on well, and he should get a good run from the gate and be very competitive. I think he'll run well. And another one that will run well is called one to follow called Satirial Glory. Horse from Sydney, ran 4th in the Champion Stakes. He's got here and absolutely thrived. I think he's probably improved a bit. And he's a So You Think, and they tend to like the dirt tracks. Once again, he's drawn awkwardly out in 9 on the dirt, but he's going well.
His trial was very good the other day, David, on the dirt, so I don't think he'll have too much trouble handling the dirt the way he handled that trial.
Yeah, that was in against one of the favourites for the Classic Mile. So one thing about trials here, Shane, is if you can take all of a sudden you're in a trial against Golden 60 and etc. They're very fair dinkum, the trial. So normally if you can trial well without testing yourself too much, they do reproduce it, especially in dirt. Those dirt trials are very hot sometimes.
That's race 5, number 10, Satirical Glory, race 5, number 10, and also race 8, number 5 in Wide Blue Yonder. Hazy, this match race between 3 epic horses in Hong Kong is capturing the imagination of everyone around the world. What's the build-up like in Hong Kong, and who do you see winning?
Yeah, look, the build-up for it's going to be terrific. I think they'll draw another huge crowd, and if I was a race guy, I'd go to this meeting with the 2 good races on last week, because it's just great racing. Look, I've been watching Golden 60 for 2 years here, racing in front of no one, and he wins 90% of the time. So I'm going to lean to Golden 60, but it wouldn't surprise me if the other 2 up and coming. The other 2 are genuine Group 1 horses anywhere, and Golden 60 is a legitimate champion. So I'm going to go for the champion.
Yeah, that's great, David. It's exciting for Hong Kong to have those 3 horses obviously competing there at the moment, and Obviously there's a good chance you might have unearthed hopefully can unearth a couple of those imports that you've brought in this year, and they can start to deliver their promise as well.
Yeah, I think, as you said earlier, as the races get longer and we start drawing better barriers, they'll put their hand up.
And how's the bragging rights going between you and Casper?
He's got the upper hand, but it's only temporary.
Hazy, it might be time for you to have another sprint race with him.
That's what I was suggesting.
Yeah, I think it might be time for you to get him out on the course again and, just get the stopwatch out again and see who's a bit quicker, just to remind him.
I don't know if you realise, Hutch, it's class racing up here, and I've gone up a couple of classes and he's dropped back, so he's got to improve a bit.
Hazy, as always, mate, we love catching up with you. Keep up the good work, and we look forward to that frustrating run that you're having at the moment, just flipping on its head.
Yeah, you just keep persisting and it will change.
That's right. Form is temporary and class is permanent. D.A. Hayes, always an absolute honour to have you. So the start of this 4-year-old series, much anticipated. We got the Hong Kong Classic Mile. Really looking forward to this. And, of course, you can jump on Hutchie's Honkers website to see where his rankings are at the moment in regards to the Derby horses. And those rankings bust. They will change after Sunday.
They will certainly change, and I've also ranked them on their peak performances. So, like, Cordyceps 6 is right up there, but will he stay the trip, etc.? We've got Keefe. He's the top of my performance rating so far. But like I said, go to hutchieshonkers.com, click on the link, and it's all there. And it's very even, as Shane said. Outside of my top sort of 2 or 3, there's about 6 of them in the race where there's basically a length and a half between them on their peak figures. Now, we know horses don't always bring their peak, but it just shows you how even this race could potentially be.
Yeah. Can I just go back a layer? Oh, actually, let's have a look at this first. Let's have a look at the key form references.
This is the horse that I have favourite on my figures, and it's Keefe. And this was the day that he was actually beaten. But we've seen him at his best, and he managed to put up a really good number in the Chevalier Cup. Packing Treadmill beat him on this occasion. Look, I think this was a tick-over run for Frankie Law, and he's come back and trialled exceptionally well. Packing Treadmill is tough, consistent, good winning strike rate. But I think, Shane, I think Keefe's the one to beat here. I know once again there's with Zach on Packing Treadmill, he's very popular. I think there's a 6 kilo swing on that meeting alone. I'm not sure Frankie really had that race targeted, and the way that Keefe's trialled since and given his official rating of 100, he is exceptionally well in this race, and I've got him a clear favourite in the Classic Mile.
Yeah, he's going to be very hard to beat. I actually think it's, you're right, 6 kilos. It's 14 pounds or 14 points. I go 14 pounds, so that's about 6 kilos. That's a lot of weight. I'm just looking at it now. Like, the only horse that isn't, and it is improving, is Ivy League, and that's the 13. The rest of them are all at their peak form now. It's quite incredible. You'd never see this in a race. I think it's a pretty open race, but I'd probably have Keithy on top because of the weight with Packing Treadmill. I think Beauty Verse can improve, Clint. I really do. From gate 1, he'll probably be 3 back the fence. He might box seat. Doesn't want to push too hard because we know he can pull. I think could be coming into the race. His run the other day wasn't too bad. But look, it wouldn't surprise me what won this. But I'd have Keithy on top from Beauty Vase, Packing Treadmill, and of course, Sweet Encounter. Look, the best horse in the race is Cordyceps 6 on ratings and form. But will he run a mile? He's never been a mile. We don't know. His run the other day in 1,000 metres was outstanding. It was really good. He kept coming. I know he didn't win, but it wasn't a bad run. And his 1,200 metre form's very good, but it's hard going from 1,200 to a mile, Clint.
Yeah, and what does G1 Goldmine say? If you analyse him, can he run a strong mile?
Over the coming weeks leading into the Derby, Group 1 Goldmine is something that we're going to profile, and this is really important, Shane. You brought up an interesting point regarding Cordyceps 6, and this really, I was going to be against him anyway from the barrier and going from 12 to 16, and looking now at what the pedigree's telling me, I'm happy to be right against him in the market. And I think he will be a pretty big price, but that says 1,200's his sweet spot and the mile's a massive query. So I'm according to the Group 1 Goldmine stuff, which I like to reference, it's not absolute, but it's a really good guide. using statistics-based algorithms that Cordyceps 6 is going to find it hard. Now, Shane, you brought up about the map and in terms of the tempo of the race. It's really interesting, this map in this race, because a lot of the there's a few of the back markers that are drawn wide, drawn higher numbers, and they're going to go back. And I think, the likes of Sweet Encounter, Voyage, Bubble, you mentioned Beauty, Verse. Keefe's a little bit sticky drawn. Tuchel's, I think, drawn well to get a good run. But I don't see a lot of pressure necessarily, and I think it makes it really difficult for like Hazy's couple of runners that are going to go back from the gate. I don't want to be on anything too far back in this race, and there's a real void in the middle, but there's not a lot of pressure in the race.
No, there's not. Voyage Bubble will lead. He's got his Sweet Encounter will definitely be forward. He might even try and lead early and then let the other horse go. He's very one-pace, Sweet Encounter, and I think the more forward he is, the better he'll be. But when you go through it, you got those horses running third, fourth, fifth, but they're not dominant pace horses. So there's not a lot of pace outside of really Voyage, Bubble, and, of course, Sweet Encounter.
And as we see it here, Richo, with it not being the main target for a lot, I think in terms of race tactics, it is quite important here. Now, and that's why with Zach riding Packing Treadmill, he's drawn low enough. He'll be positive too, but what a Voyage, Bubble, and Sweet Encounter do. Yeah, I just think that early part of the race is really quite interesting. But Keefe should be prominent, and like I said, I'm happy to be with him, and I've going to have him as the horse to beat. But I think there could potentially be a little bit of value in some of the Quinellas as well, because I thought that Tuchel, I think Sweet Encounter, I'm not sure what price he'll be with Ryan on him. He'll have to be, but Voyage Bubble's the other one that I think has been severely underrated by the market. He was pressured the other day, Shane. Voyage Bubble up on speed, didn't get a lot of pace in that sort of second to third section. Inside wasn't great. He was vulnerable late, Voyage Bubble, and he didn't look visually impressive, but there was a lot more substance to that win than many will see. I think just visually, if you looked at the numbers and what he did, I thought there was a lot of merit to the performance.
Yeah, the other day he come home in 24:38, which is really slow, which tells you they went quick early. He can't do that here. He won't be. If he goes too quick at any stage, they're going to run over top of them. Jamie's very good on front runners. We know that. She rates them very well. And with no pace in the race, she should be able to rate him.
Race number 10, let's have a look at the field. Race number 10, interesting that Jamie Carr's riding Beauty Missile, Huey Bowman on Super Dynamite, James McDonald on Beauty Inspire, and Zach Purton on the Toppy Amazing Victory.
Yeah, it's an interesting race. We just were bringing up about Jamie, and she's got an interesting runner here in Beauty Missile, who was formerly known as Alcedo and trained, I think, in the Corstons camp in Australia, in Victoria. So this horse has actually trialled pretty well too. He trialled against Victor the Winner the other day in Chongfa in China and went, I thought, nicely. And Frankie Law has booked Jamie for this ride. But I thought that the horse to beat will be Stunning Impact for me. Race fitness on the side. What we don't see in this replay with Stunning Impact, and of course amazing victories in the race for Zach Purton, but Stunning Impact stumbled at the start and then copped the check. He got knocked out the back and it put him really on the back foot. His form prior 1,400 metres this season, Shane's been excellent, provided he jumps well, and I can't see any reason why he wouldn't for Silvestre de Souza. I think you'll see him bounce back, and just with that race fitness on his side, I thought he'd run really well. So he was a forgive run last time, and I'm expecting Stunning Impact to be hard to beat.
Yeah, he definitely had an excuse out of the gates. He kind of got buffeted from the outside horse, and then he dipped and lost his footing for a stride. He ran well. Amazing victory from gate 3. He's going to get a lot better run than he's been getting. Sack won't allow this horse tomorrow because he's been drawing out a bit and getting back. I've got it here. What was his barriers the last couple of times?
He draws 3.
I know he's drawn 3 both times. I didn't even. He drew 3 last time and 13 the start before when he went back. I don't think he'll be getting back on him here tomorrow, and he's going to get a very good run, and he's racing well. He hasn't gone bad. He's actually gone up a notch, Clint, that horse. I didn't realise he was so good. Since this season, he's really improved.
He's improved this season, and look, I think he had a nice enough run the other day. I don't think he can offer much more, and that might be good enough to win it. But there's another interesting newcomer, another beauty horse in the race. We get a few of them, don't we? But this one called Beauty Inspire with John Size and J-Mac riding, which could come in for a bit of support as well. Thought the trial was just okay. 2-year-old form from Ireland. Always hard to line up that 2-year-old form. Personally, I'm very cautious around it. I'll be hoping he's well backed and I'll be taking him on. But there's a big spruik around him, given obviously his form overseas. But I don't know what do you like with 2-year-old form, Shane? He's 2 from 2, but anywhere in the world, I'm even more hesitant with some of that juvenile form because it's not easy to replicate.
Just on the thinking, without looking, Beauty Missile improved every trial, if I remember correctly. So he's on the way up. The other horse hasn't shown enough to win at this stage. He's had quite a few 1,200-metre trials. I think he had 6 trials, and I don't think he's done enough to win at this stage.
Okay, we watch him with great interest as he commences his career. Best bets on a Super Sunday. Where do we go, Buster?
I think the best bet at this point in time will be Keith. He'll be one of our main players on the day, and I'm pretty happy to back him. And I think in terms of a Quinella, I'll be taking Voyage Bubble. I'll take Sweet Encounter and Tuchel. And I think there'll be good value in that particular bet. I also do like Why Blue Yonder. I think I'm hoping it's an each way price, but you might get around $4 or $5. I think it looks competitive enough on paper, but listening to David, I'm happy enough that he's happy with the horse. So those would be my main 2 plays. And of course, in the last Stunning Impact, it would be the Way Home. So that's the way I've seen it.
Okay, and Stunning Impact in the last RS Dye. Steer us into one, will you?
I'm behind the 8 ball because I haven't done the first 4 or 5 races. I'll go the last race. Take a Quinella. There you go. Clint's and mine. Amazing Victory and Stunning Impact.
Numbers 1 and 7 in the last.
I think Keithy's got a great chance, but not an easy race. Romantic Warrior. David's horse on the dirt race, he'll go all right. Satiko, whatever it's called, Glory. But that's a hard dirt race looking at that. There's a lot of chances in that. Like Handsome 12 didn't get the best run the other day, and he's coming back from Class 1 to Class 3, which is huge. But in saying that, he meets a lot of these worse off at the weights for beating them last time. True Legends racing very well from gate 10 should lead. So, and yes, we can from gate 1. If he can race a little bit closer, he's not the worst. Raw Bomb from gate 2 will get a lot better run and run third 2 starts ago on the dirt. So there's a few chances in that race, Clint. But David's horse ran really well last start and he's trialled well since then.
Yeah, and even Douglas's horse that he put the blanket pacifiers on last time, Beauty Champ, up in grade, and he won really well. I actually think
very impressive because he had a wide run, Clint, and he pulled a bit early. It was 4 deep first bend, 3 wide down the back, 4 wide final bend, and he kicked. He wouldn't be a surprise if he won. So that's a good dirt race, that.
Beauty Champ and I think Royal Bomb are the 2 that might be a bit of value in that one.
I'll be watching our little WhatsApp group, and maybe we should start selling shares to that WhatsApp group because, by gee, there's some unbelievable entertainment in it.
Richo, can I just say one thing? If you do, I want more than I'm getting paid for this one. Or count me out.
You are
count me
the
out.
number one. You are the number one entertaining part of that WhatsApp group. HutchiesHonkers.com, of course, is the website. You get all the great selections, the full analysis, and hopefully you can keep consuming this product. If you're in Australia, you can do it on 7+ and check it out all around the world. Hutch, gee, it's good to be back.
Good to be back. Enjoy the weekend and revel in the racing. It'll be an absolute beauty.
Shane Dye, an absolute pleasure to see you again,
Good luck,
my friend.
everyone. All the best. Great days racing. It's a fantastic 2 major races.
The Triple Trio coming back next week. Good luck.